And it's going to be Gamers2 with first ban and the first pick.
Yeah, alright. Well, we do have some experience seeing them. We've seen them recently actually in the LoL Pro League, and Dark Passage also have some very storied players, I think. They've been around for quite a while as probably the strongest Turkish team there. Fabulous in particular, now actually going by the name of just Fabulous, less Fabulous maybe than he was in the past, does love to play carry top lane like Jax. I can't actually see picks and bans because I'm not in the lobby. We are playing this on the live server. So, Metas, what has been locked in so far?
Yeah, it's strange to have delay again because we've been using Tournament Realm so much lately. So we are going to have that 3-minute delay as well after picks and bans. But the bans, fairly interestingly, Evelyn Renekton, fairly standard, and then a Master Yi from Dark Passage. So with all the recent changes, which I'm sure you'd love to talk about, Spuddington, AD junglers have definitely been given a new breath of life, just completely running rampant.
Yeah, the Feral Flare item, which evolves from Wriggle's Lantern now, is really strong. It is absurd. It takes a long time to farm it up, but there are some issues in like 2v1 lanes as a result of that. So even though it's an incredibly strong solo queue item, some people have been questioning it in competitive play because a 2v1 swap up means the jungler doesn't get much time to farm it up, doesn't get it evolved until like 23, 24, 25 minutes. And that's really slow. But clearly, Dark Passage fear it enough to ban out Master Yi, who is like the king of using that item.
Yeah, definitely. Zin's also been banned, maybe for a similar reason, alongside the LeBlanc as well. So that's going to leave quite a few big champions up, and that's going to include Kha'Zix, who gets instantly locked in from Gamers2. And interesting enough, with the teleport flash, of course, they can change that one around into the jungle if needs be. Straight off the bat, though, that's going to be Crystal picking himself up Lee Sin as well.
Yeah, so picking away the Lee Sin, Dark Passage do like to run that champion in the jungle, which is super scary. But I'm actually a little bit curious to see why Gamers2 have gone for such a high priority jungle pick on Kha'Zix. Obviously, it's flexible. Maybe they'll put it mid, maybe they'll put it top, but I wouldn't expect them to do either of those. It's not such a powerful pick anymore in the jungle. When stuff like Lee Sin was available, when you've got other characters, Shyvana is actually now a very good jungler thanks to Feral Flare. So I'm a little bit surprised to see them putting so much priority on Kha'Zix, but maybe it's intended as like a potential counter to Fabulous's top lane Jax, because Kha'Zix actually does very well against that.
Yeah, definitely does. Alongside that, Lucian and Leona have been locked in for the bot lane of Gamers2, so they're trying to keep their mid laner potentially close to their chest. Of course, Kha'Zix can be running mid, especially if you are the likes of Alex Ich, but we are going to just find out where Gamers2 want to play that one. And as a potential rebuttal, Sivir is being hovered over with 20 seconds to go. Is not a terrible AD carry against Leona, can block out pretty much all of those spells. So with Thresh being down, Leona is actually a pretty damn strong pickup bot, but they could be going for Morgana, because obviously that Black Shield that we've talked about before, Spuddington, is just so good at eliminating all of that CC, all of that engaging potential at the bot lane.
Yeah, Dark Passage are going for what I think was coined last night actually as being the Stampede composition. They're going for a bunch of characters that love to just run at you. You've got Ryze, who will be beefy, who will be very difficult to duel against, who will be able to rush in with the Sivir ultimate along with the Morgana, who can run into the middle of your team and ult them more effectively, and just kind of crush you down with this wave of men that can just chase you down as well because of that movement speed buff. So Gamers2 now looks like they may be looking for a little bit of disengage. They picked out Lulu, and oh well. I'm a little bit behind, so they're swapping through picks. But if they were to go for Lulu, that would make a lot of sense. It would give them some disengage to avoid that rush down from Dark Passage. But of course, they have to pick a top lane right now, they have to pick a top lane right now to deal with Ryze, which is a very tall order.
And it looks like they've gone for Irelia to fit the bill. So alongside Irelia, it wasn't Lulu, they actually switched over to Nidalee to run from what I assume is the mid lane. So that would suggest that Kha'Zix will indeed be in the jungle. So it's answered a few questions for us. On the flip side, Dark Passage is still yet to lock in their fifth, which would also be their mid lane. So maybe looking for something to counter against the Nidalee.
I'm a little bit surprised that they've gone for Nidalee here. Nidalee is a very strong poker, there is no denying that. Poking is okay against that kind of Stampede composition, but needs some kind of hard disengage. Gamers2's composition at the moment, the only thing they've really got to stop the rushdown attack from Dark Passage is a Leona ultimate, and that's iffy, that's avoidable. It's only one skill, maybe on a short cooldown, but it's not going to be super reliable if they're trying to stop them coming in, especially when there's also a Black Shield to block out whoever's trying to be stunned there. So Ocelot's going to have to do a lot of work and get really fed to make his poke. He's going to have very limited time to poke if Dark Passage look for an engage. He's going to have to be really effective with what little time he has.
We have seen Italy quite a few times recently, though. From Ocelot in particular, we've been casting other tournaments Spuddington where he's been using that, and to pretty strong effect. What I would say, though, is that pre-level 6, Ocelot is super aggressive with Nidalee, and a couple times that's got him caught out and indeed shut down. So that's something he's going to have to be super careful for, because of course once Nidalee gets the Cougar form, is much more mobile, much more slippery, harder to lock down. But before then, is very vulnerable against ganks, especially when you're against a jungler like Lee Sin.
Yeah, indeed. And Dark Passage also picked out a Jace, which is going to be an interesting counter pick to Nidalee in the mid lane. I imagine it's going to be a mid lane Jace. It could be top lane. But really interesting composition there. I believe we're going to be going into a quick commercial break, though, because we do have the delay timer ticking down. So in about 3 minutes, guys, we will be back, and we will have this game between Dark Passage and Gamers2 online.
Hello ladies and gents, welcome back, and we are live now on the Rift for game number 1 out of potential grueling 5. This is a best of 5 between Dark Passage, a top Turkish team, and of course Gamers2, who are a relatively new team. They've been around for a little while now, Spud, but they are definitely picking up speed. Some interesting picks, some interesting summoner spells, so plenty for us to talk about.
Yeah, obviously guys, we're playing on the live servers right now, so a relatively recent patch has come out, and that is why you're seeing so many summoner heals across the board, because that got a huge buff. Even, in fact, a mid lane summoner heal there, Ocelot, running that. So, the things about heal that got changed are that it now cleanses Grievous Wound effect. So it cleanses the effect from Ignite that cuts your healing, and it also gives you bonus movement speed. And I was talking in Champion Select about the fact that Gamers2 are going to have difficulty with disengaging, but that summoner heal may actually make the difference between that. Not something I've seen before, but it's a pretty good band-aid over not having hard disengage in your composition.
Yep, that is a very good point, and heals are plenty, 3 of them, both AD carries. This is something we are seeing a lot more, because heal, of course, was buffed. It now outclasses barrier. You get the heal to both of your bot laners. It will target you and the nearest ally champion to you, and also gives you 30% movement speed, so really good for those sticky situations. And again, as you mentioned, it's very good on Nidalee. She doesn't really need anything apart from barrier, or at least didn't used to need anything, and now that heal has been buffed, there's no real need for her to pick anything else.
Yeah, and we do also see no trinket changes, of course, guys, so we still see a lot more invades in the current meta, and it seems like Gamers2 have actually snuck past. But when they see them returning to lane, it does seem to me like Crystal Meth is going to be able to go straight over to the enemy red buff. It's actually a bit of a question. Is Morden going to be trying to rush there to stop him? I doubt it.
No, doesn't look like there's been much in the way of reactions so far, but regardless, yeah, I've casted Dark Passage so many times for a number of tournaments now, and I still can't get used to saying that name, Spud, so I can definitely understand. But actually, Crystal is going to be going on towards the enemy red buff right now, and should be getting this one by and large for free, although Irelia is coming up, but JWoww would be in a 1 versus 2 situation, so therefore we'll just be backing on away, and Crystal does indeed secure that red.
The only thing that I have to criticize there is that JWoww possibly could have used that brief amount of time when Trial Benray, however you would say that name, Trial, Morgana, to get maybe a little bit of experience, because right now he's being zoned out very, very heavily, but he has managed to get that level 2, so he's doing all right for himself. Right now, though, the junglers are actually very, very predictable, because it's known where they started and where their second buff was as well. But JWoww going to have to watch himself, and much the same in top. Ryze is expecting a dive as well.
Yeah, you can already see that Fabulous is really playing this one careful and very smart as well. Yes, he's losing some of this CS, but it's better than him losing his life, as this tower is already being chunked down to 50% of its hit points. Pretty much a mirror image, though, as Dark Passage do exactly the same at the bottom lane. So they will more than likely be trading off these towers with no early death coming down.
This is one of the weaknesses of Ryze as a 2v1 laner. He can't clear jungle camps alone. If you pick someone strong early, like a Renekton or a Jax, and they get in this 2-on-1 situation, they can just say, right, screw it, I'm leaving the tower, I'm just going to go and get a couple of levels, farming the golems, farming the race, and while my jungler is pushing out that top lane. You actually saw, indeed, in North America once, Team Dignitas went the full route, and they actually took a Ryze from top lane, because they knew he couldn't jungle clear, and he knew he couldn't hold a 2 versus 1, or a 3 versus 1, and they actually had a 4-man push going. But that was a very creative strategy, not something people are doing today, it seems.
Morden does get himself rune prison down there from Fabulous, but nothing really is going to happen, as there was still creeps to tank on that tower. They've still done large chunks to that top tower now, Spud, and when you look on the flip side, DP really haven't done the same. So far it's coming out slightly ahead. That is Crystal being caught, though. He's going to be safeguarding back on Fabulous, but does eat a chunk of damage. Was ignited as well in the process from Leona.
Right now, Dark Passage's bot lane could do with, well, honestly, they can't actually recall in time. It's too late, but had they recalled a little bit earlier, or Crystal Meth avoided being caught, they might have been able to scramble and hold this tower on a little bit of health. Whatever way it goes, though, they're going to come out behind now because JWoww has held onto that tower bottom a little bit better. This will give the rest of Gamers2 an opportunity to get down there, defend the tower, and it'll end with a 1 tower advantage. But Gamers2's bot lane do need to stay up top at least until they've shoved the wave into tower to stop Fabulous freezing.
I think this is just so smart though from Gamers2, because we're talking about this in Champion Select that Lee Sin is an early game terror from the jungle, especially for champions like Nidalee. How do you alleviate that pressure? Lane switch up, force him to babysit Fabulous, or indeed force the tower down, and he's had absolutely no kind of interference in mid, and therefore Ocelot will be hitting level 6 before he does so. Such smart play from them, and it's paid off as well.
Yeah, the only thing where you could arguably say they might have been able to do a tiny bit better, although it hasn't proved necessary, is to pick arguably like a better pushing jungler. Like Wukong was available, but there is an engaging bot.
There is. Triel will be going 6 foot under here. 3 players jumping on him. In fact, he has flashed out, so maybe that will buy him up enough time. JWoww also found himself exhausted, but here comes Morden from the side. Dart Binding lands on him. Pretty much pixel perfect, but the cavalry coming in now from Crystal. There's the leap as well from Morden, and the javelin secures the first blood, so goes on the perfect player from Gamers2, and they do stop that second tower from taking too much damage.
Yeah, so 1 tower advantage, they get the first kill, they have the positioning for Dragon, but it's a little bit early, and remember that was buffed as well, so it now does percentage health damage. So people then are a little bit more leery about taking it in the super early game, and indeed in the super late game, because it is a slightly more significant threat. But Gamers2 definitely in the lead right now. Fabulous is taking time though, and he is getting a bit more farm than Irelia.
Yep, he is. He already has that tier of the Goddess and 820 odd gold as well. That's by and large been because he was able to free farm at top lane, whereas the kill went down at bot lane. So Irelia did get hands on. I was going to say an assist, but actually he didn't, because had to back away due to that exhaust. So actually, yeah, Fabulous is doing a pretty nice job at top lane, and Irelia is going to have to be pretty careful.
Yeah. Thing about the tower being gone though, of course, and Rise still being squishy and having no real escape, is that he just doesn't dare stay up there if he doesn't know where Kha'Zix is. So even though he would probably be able to outduel JWoww right now, he's not going to get the opportunity to do so. I think he possibly should have pushed that into the tower though, because this is going to give Irelia now the chance to do the top lane freeze, and you can see she's actually tanking this up, popping hit end style just to get a bit more health back.
Yep, does have the double Doran, so it's going to be pretty scary to play against right now, especially when that ultimate is up and available. Still level 5, about a quarter of the way through the level right now, whereas on the flip side Fabulous is near enough level 6. That being said, flashing up Holy Phoenix, who's taken poke from both Yuki and Dude, and we spoke about this in the previous tournament that we were casting, Spud. In terms of challenger bot lanes, these two are amongst the best. Very difficult to play against.
They are incredibly good, and we've seen them just... I don't think I've seen them lose yet, actually, in bot lane. They've certainly dominated some bot lanes, and they've gone even a couple of times, but I really don't think I've seen them lose.
It is a very rare occurrence. I can't personally remember seeing them lose either. Not by a large margin either. Normally it's been because of, jungle interference coming down with the ganks, but Yuki is only 3 CS ahead of Sivir, but they are constantly pushing this tower. Sivir just went back to spawn to pick up a BF sword. That's going to be a nice spike in damage, but this is allowing Yuki to get some more free farm. He's accumulated 1.1k in his back pocket, so when he goes back, he's going to be trying to pick up some more items as well. In the meanwhile, in mid though, Naru's putting down a lot of damage on Ocelot. There's the ignite as well, but Morden from the backside gets hit backwards, and the flash as well from Naru. That is going to force the flash from Morden, constantly chasing after this one. This is going to be another kill going down to Gamers2.
Nice bait there by Ocelot. He knew Naru would go for that bait as well, because he was getting low and it looked like it was going to be one of those longer term kills where he was slowly getting chased down, but no, it wasn't.
JWoww eating a bit of damage, actually runs back in because he has Transcendent Blaze. Meanwhile in mid lane, Crystal's being forced back, but I'm switching back to top lane. Fabulous is being chased after. There is a long way for him to go, but JWoww opting to just go ahead and get some farm instead.
The mana costs there, stopping JWoww from chasing that down, and there's a killing bot.
There certainly was, and again, surprise, surprise, Gamers2 are going to pick that one up. So they've got kills on their AD carry, their AP carry in mid, and indeed their jungler as well. So it's spreading out, evening out very nicely for them. And this is just after I mentioned Cive came back to lane with a BF sword, just didn't help. Instantly dumpstered by Yuki.
It's a very scary thing to deal with any lane with Leona, especially one that synergizes so well with her like Lucian. He's got just the right timing on his skills and his double shot to make sure he's always proccing Leona passive, and he always has the burst. He can always proc it with the culling as well. So it's a really, really good lane bully setup, and it's also very, very good late game.
Yep, which is why they were planning for this, I'm pretty sure, with that Thresh ban, because that, Thresh can alleviate some of the pressure, as we spoke about before. The interesting mechanic of flaying through his Zenith blade, which really keeps Leona in her place. Not being able to pick that one up, it certainly puts them on the back foot, and all the aggression has been in the side of Yuki and Dude as it's been a 2v2, because of course for the first 5 to 10 minutes it was a 2v1 lane just pushing on through.
And now Ocelot is actually pushed up to the enemy tower, has been caught.
Yep, Naru is going to be forcing him back, but again, that is just the strength of Nidalee. You can flash if it's up and then Cougar form and no one is going to get close to you.
Yeah, I think Lee Sin Q may have actually missed, and Nidalee Q not missing Lee Sin though.
Certainly not. We'll be poking, even though it's the early stage. Still doing a lot of damage. Bot lane though. Holy Phoenix taking damage. Triel is going to be flashing on away. There is the culling as well from Yuki. He doesn't miss a shot and picks up his second kill. He's hungry for his double kill and takes it down. 5-0 Gamers2.
It's a joy to watch a guy that just knows he can get a kill. Yuki, most players would have taken the one kill, said thank you very much, that's a good trade, I will now back off because I don't want to risk throwing it away going on the tower. But Yuki knew, if I dash in, I'm going to have enough damage to finish off Holy Phoenix, and there's nothing he can do about it. So, very, very good play there. They get the dragon. On top of that, Leona is now roaming towards this mid lane. If she has ultimate, there's a potential kill here.
There is. Naru, though, is going to be joined by Crystals. They will back away. It was a 3v2, but a couple of them were pretty low on hit points. Ocelot's going to heal himself back up. Already 5-0, about a 4.2k goal differential at 12.5 minutes. That is significant chunks of change in favour of Gamers2. And that's going to equate to some pretty beefy items as well when all the players go back to spawn.
Yeah, Dark Passage are looking at a situation where they need to start dragging this out. If Gamers2 run away with the game, we've seen them do it before, they can end a game very effectively, very early, and they've got good sieging to go along with that style, as well as good split pushing from JWoww. So, they need to play the map pressure game, but they can't afford to get into too many fights now because Dark Passage are too far behind to win them unless they have a significant advantage going in.
Yep, but for Dark Passage, they just got to stop hemorrhaging this gold and all these objectives, Spud, because we've seen a number of times that when Gamers2 do get their teeth into a game, they are very difficult to shake off. They have the kind of composition as well that if you give it an inch, they'll take a mile. So definitely something that you've got to watch out for here. How well can Dark Passage bounce back? Remember though, this is a best of 5, so this is still really early days, as Ocelot is trying to steal away that blue buff and indeed will be successful.
Oh!
In fact, no he won't! The Tormented Soil from Trio. Scumbag Morgana stealing that blue buff, but it really is a drop in the ocean at this point. It's not, yes it's irritating, it's not game breaking.
Final tick, Tormented Soil MVP. That was some unfortunate misjudgment there by Ocelot. Very, very close to it though.
It certainly was, and is he going to be angry? Is he going to try and bounce back with a kill? Crystal going super aggressive underneath the tower. Nita Javelin as well. My goodness, that was over-aggression. Morden though will be falling down from Naru, who now looks on to going towards Ocelot, but he's not going to be able to secure that kill. Either way, I'm surprised that the kill actually went down to the side of Dark Passage after that super aggressive dive.
It was a botched dive by Crystal Meth, but because it was a botched dive, Gamers2 got over eager in pursuing them after they'd gotten that dive. So in the end, it actually worked in their favor that he screwed it up.
Well, that sure is fabulous, and that is going to be a kill. That's the power of a teleport on Rise. And he is slowly chugging along, Spud. We haven't really mentioned him because of that early aggression with the 1v3 lanes as it turned out to be with the junglers. But he is chugging along here. Components of Rod of Ages has a Tear of the Goddess for quite some time, so that is going to be 409 out of 750 stacks.
Yeah, Fabulous is starting to get pretty scary. Once he's finished his Rod of Ages, which won't be long because he needs maybe 60-ish more gold, and he's actually got some biscuits to sell, so he can do that. And once he's got that, once he's got his tier farmed up, he's going to start being really, really, really scary. And Dark Passage have brought it back a little bit. The gold lead is less significant than it was, and it doesn't look like even the spot tower is going to fall because they're holding it just about with the help of Crystal Man.
Yeah, it's just whether Rise can get to those stages. If he can manage to dig himself in deep and the rest of Dark Passage don't buckle under the pressure. And this is what I was talking about before. How tenacious are Dark Passage? Can they keep themselves in this game? Crystal is doing a pretty good job of bolstering the towers when they need to be defended. And again, he will push back Gamers2. They're not interested in pushing this tower just yet.
Yeah, so Yuki is very, very strong. Leona is still very, very strong, and they've got all the burst in the world. So as long as that 2v2 lane continues in this vein, the lead is going to increase. Sivir is going to get proportionally weaker compared to Lucian. But so long as they don't die, and so long as they don't lose the tower, Jace and Rise, who are very, very strong late game, are going to continue farming. And the global gold is much more important right now to hold on to than to make sure that Sivir is able to, split push and get farm herself. Her role in this game is going to be ulti-bot.
Yeah, Holy Phoenix really does need to start catching up though. 2 levels behind Yuki. About, 30 odd farm as well. Okay, he's just pulled back a level, but he's also items behind. Bot lane, there goes the On the Hunt. There's no tower here, there's the culling though. Here comes a teleport as well from Irelia. That's going to be Dragon's Rage instantly. Soul Shackles as well will lock Jaywell. There's the flash, but Ocelot from the side picks up one. He wants the second. He wants payback for that blue buff, and he gets it with his double kill.
So there, Lee Sin was sitting on a ward that whole time. Gamers2 were absolutely ready. They said, okay, we know Sivir has ultimate. We know Lee Sin is right there. They think it's a 3-on-2. So we teleport in JWoww, and we have Ocelot rotating down to be there for the cleanup at the end. Really, really smart play. And just taking that one ward got them so much gold and map pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Got them 3 kills on Italy, 3 kills on Lucian, who is now recalling with a bunch of money, over 2,000 to be precise. So, Berserker Greaves, what's that? It's going to be Triforce next, what's he going to go for? Zeal. So, keeping us on our toes. Zeal, of course, could go into Static Shift, which we've seen DPD before. Could also go into the Triforce alongside the Phage and Sheen. So, only time will tell. Also, gone for the Furrow Boot. So, plus 45 movement speed. Wants to be as close to the enemy as possible.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. Fura Boots were made cheaper in the last patch, I believe, so that is another thing that is arguably worth doing, since obviously it's less of a commitment, so you don't delay your damage items as much. But I'm still wondering about that 475 gold spent so early.
Lots of poke in around the dragon area, and whereas Nidalee can heal that one back up, nobody on Dark Passage can, so Naru has to go back to spawn. He's going to finish off his Triforce, so that is a big item for Jace alongside the Brutalizer. But again, Tower's objectives are being forced down here from Gamers2. Dragon is live, and Gamers2 thought for a millisecond of starting that one off, but thought better of it, waiting for the cavalry to come in.
And they know here, Gamers2, as long as they don't get that Stampede engaging on them, and as long as they can get a couple of big pokes down, they will come out on top. But they've actually been hit by Jace.
They have his Fabulous in the front. You can see how much damage he's starting to put down as well. Machine Gun Rise just wrapping on through. Gets another overload off, and that could be enough to force them away. JWoww, however, is in prime position. Italy's going to be able to heal on up. They are collapsing back onto this one, and Dark Passage smell that something is going horribly wrong. Triel eats a Javelin, and they will back away.
Yeah, they could not do that Dragon then. Dragon's damage is buffed, but that wasn't the main factor. They were getting split apart into 2 parts there. And if they've been engaged upon by JWoww, by Dude, Yuki would have been so capable of cleaning it up completely. It does seem like we have got a pause timer. No explanation as of yet. But this is still a very dicey situation, and I feel like because of the commitment from Dark Passage, the cooldowns, and the health, now Gamers2, with their extra sustain and with their poke, is actually starting to, look pretty good for this situation.
They are. J-Bow was the reason why this pause has been called here. He unfortunately did just quit out the game, so some issues going on with his internet, I believe, or client. But as you say, this is still quite dicey. It's difficult to see how it's going to fall on down, because Dark Passage, they can still poke from range with Jace. Still a few of their players are high on hit points, and here comes the unpause to just be paused again. So the player's trolling us a tiny bit here. Ocelot saying sorry in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, what happened there, I think, was that they paused it, and Dark Passage paused it. Then JWoww disconnected, and Gamers2 and Dark Passage said, "Do you want to start again?" And Gamers2 said, "No, we don't want to start again." JWoww's reconnecting. Then Gamers2 said, "Okay, JWoww's here, we're unpausing," and then they unpaused it. But Dark Passage then said, "Wait, wait, what? You didn't tell us you were unpausing." So they paused it again, and now we've got ourselves organised. We do have the Lee Sin Q landing, but Crystal Meth isn't feeling confident enough in his insect mechanics right now.
This is really where Ocelot's Nidalee is going to thrive, though, I have to say, because you can just hide around the sides, throw in javelins, and if they land, it's going to force back Dark Passage. They cannot start the dragon on low hit points. I don't know if you'd actually wanted that to land. That would have put him in a horrible position. Again, the acceleration gate shot blast combo rains out through Naru, and it is starting to do quite a bit of damage itself. So you've got this weird toing and throwing between the teams right now, just over the dragon. Has been started from Dark Passage, however, and Gamers2 are keen to get in close proximity. Another javelin fires on out. Dragon is going pretty low right now, around half of its hit points. On the hunt is available. Culling comes through, completely smashing Morgana. There is the Leona ult though, and that is going to pick up the kill on Fabulous. That's going to be a rampage on Lucian and the dragon as well. So for all the tuning and throwing, Gamers2 again coming out on top.
That culling did so much damage there, and that was basically the reason that Dark Passage, who had previously been actually kind of slightly winning the poke fight there, because Jace has a less easily dodged skill shot in a very open area like that river was. But because of that massive damage from the culling that I think they weren't really expecting, it just completely minced Dark Passage and they were forced into a retreat, which is really not where their composition excels.
Yep, definitely. And culling completely obliterated Morgana, so it was not useful in that fight at all. And that again, another objective going to the hands of Gamers2. Fabulous dying first as well is never a good sign for Dark Passage, because he is going to be their sustained tanky DPS source. If he dies, they lack a lot of damage, and that's another reason they were forced to back away. So if they had stayed around, they certainly would have been aced.
Yeah, no way they could have fought that, but Dark Passage is still aren't completely beyond hope. The gold lead, still a big one, but it's not completely beyond hope, and I keep saying it, but strong late game between Jace and Ryze, so actually a little bit surprised if Gamers2 are feeling super confident right now.
Yeah, and they have some pretty big items coming up as well. Triel finds himself a wild Morden in the bushes, but with Fabulous there, doesn't want to chase on this one. The javelin again landing, and Triel has to back away. Rabadon's Death Cap, Morellonomicon on Ocelot, that is going to do quite a bit of damage at these early stages of the game.
Yeah, we actually also saw in the bot lane Jace going for like an assassination attempt on Yuki, but couldn't quite keep on him, and now Fabulous may have overcommitted.
He's tanky, he's strong, I don't think he can take on 3 players. There is the Solar Flare, there is the kill on JWoww as well. So again, kill dispersal has been pretty much perfect so far from Gamers2. And with Fabulous being dead for the next 25 seconds, they can look to potentially push this mid lane.
Dark Passage have good wave clear, but they're going to have to contend with Nidalee spears. And that's a really difficult thing to contend with. We'll see how they manage now, but I just wouldn't want to be in this situation.
Me neither. It is a very tricky one. It is going to be another objective falling, so just the one outer tower now, which is at bot lane. And the Shock Blast not quite doing as much damage as I feel Jace would want at this stage, especially on Ocelot. He is able to just instantly heal that back up. Javelin comes through, lands on Crystal, chunks him down. And this is, I have to say, the alarm bells will be beginning to ring for Dark Passage, because this is looking brutal. Ocelot is basically keeping them all at bay by his lonesome just by throwing javelins.
And because they got that siege there, they've also taken an awful lot of vision control. Now you can see exactly where Fabulous is as Gamers2, and that means you know if you think you can catch him out, you know how long it's going to take him to rotate to another lane. You can clear out the Baron, as they are doing, in order to make sure that that threat is always there. And we're starting to see the clamps kind of coming in around Dark Passage, and see if they can get themselves free of that noose, but it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, they're going to have to dig in deep, turtle in for a little while longer to allow Fabulous to get to that behemoth brutal rise stage. Because right now, he's a bit of a monster. He's not quite reaching the levels that players are going to be super scared of. And to be fair as well to Gamers2, they've been doing a good job of shutting him down. Warden finds himself Lee Sin, but the leap is going to get him back to Ocelot. You can see how much healing Ocelot is doing, so Morden is again completely fine to keep on running across here to steal away this blue buff. Where's Morgana? I think Ocelot's going to be a bit scared. No, Morgana's still there to be seen.
Yeah. So, blue buff getting taken away. Gamers2. Naru forced to kind of just sit in his brush because he doesn't know anything. This is the vision control coming in. Dark Passage, they're finding it very difficult to look for proactive plays right now. What can they really do? Maybe look for the kill on Aurelia, but she's so tanky, and remember, she gets tenacity from her passive.
As you say, it can't be proactive, constantly being reactive, and that's not always the best position to be in League of Legends. Often you want to be the players dictating the pace of the game, and that just hasn't been the case. That's the last outer tower to fall as well to Gamers2. And this is going to allow them to split push with the Irelia, and this is something that Irelia really does excel at, Spud. It's going to be difficult to force her out of lane while dealing with this 4-player strong Gamers2 at bot. Yeah,
and you can see how much damage Dark Passage is taking just sitting at their tower. They need to engage. It's a do or die situation. But right now, Yuki in particular is so strong. Even if they get a good engage, it's going to be very, very difficult for Dark Passage to do anything. And Jace's damage is no longer even vaguely competitive with Nidalee. So they're just getting poked, they're getting sieged, and this is exactly what this style of composition loves from Gamers2.
Exactly. They are in their element right now. And they are very happy to keep this pace going. Because once they get to the stage of Nidalee being even stronger, if one Javelin lands, that player's going to have to go back to spawn, and that's when you start to push with the creep wave. They are going to back away, Dragon's up in 10 seconds, and it's going to be yet another objective notched onto the belt of Gamers2.
Dark Passage cannot contest it. If they go through that jungle there, you can see they've got absolutely no vision, and Gamers2 know that very, very well since they've cleared it out. And that means essentially it could be completely death if they walked into it, but the alternative is letting a dragon go, increasing the gap between the two teams. The sole hope spot right now is that Fabulous and JWoww both seem to agree with each other that Fabulous is actually stronger in a one-on-one with JWoww. So in those situations, he might be able to start applying some map pressure, but it's going to be something he has to be very careful about since he's still Rise, he's still quite easily assassinated.
That is true, especially when, as you mentioned, there isn't a great deal of vision down there, and we've already seen how strong Leona is at roaming with the Solar Flare, completely locking Fabulous down, and he will therefore fall. However, he has picked up his Seraph's Embrace, which is going to give him a lot more damage, because of course a lot of his abilities do go with mana, and also on top of that he's going to be a bit tankier as well, Spud. So Seraph's Embrace definitely going to be a nice spike there for Rise. Still though, can't afford to be caught out in these 1v3s that we've seen him in previously.
Yeah. Once he's got maybe, one more item, a defensive item to keep himself from getting bursted.
Oh, Crystal gets caught for a Solar Flare, but safeguarding away and also flashing. So Insec is not going to be on the cards for the next 300 or so seconds, but he does manage to live to fight for another day.
And of course remember that actually Morgana is being caught.
Triel, Dark Binding really whiffing hard there. Soul Shackles was used, and Warden will get to leap his way to safety. Comes back to get the kill with Ocelot as well. The burst damage is insane. Fabulous is caught, and this is all off the back of Triel. Here comes the retaliation though from Dark Passage. They picked up 2, make that 3 with a double kill courtesy of Lee Sin. I did not see that one coming, so 3-for-1 trade, and it seems like Triel's being caught out there was a bit of a troll. The old bait and switch, get 3 players for his team.
Jace does not normally count as an AoE mage. He doesn't normally get a chance to land all his damage on like 2 or 3 people. Ow. But an ow again.
Yuki's going in with no health and nearly kills Holy Phoenix. That is how strong he is. But he will get shut down. That's going to be 500 gold to the underfed AD carry of Dark Passage. And all hell suddenly breaks loose. And I got to say, Dark Passage not coming out of that last 2 minutes too bad.
Yeah, they're still clinging on by their fingernails. They're in this game. But Gamers2 still have that pretty strong control over the map. They need to translate that into some vision control now because they've lost most of those wards. And I have to say, chasing Holy Phoenix there for so long did actually cost them. It would have been okay to make that play though, so long as they just hadn't grouped up quite as tight of a bunch.
Yeah, well, was that a minor blip? Oh my goodness, Naru eats another javelin. But I was going to say, is that a minor blip on the radar there for Gamers2, or is that something that is an indication of how this game is going to turn around? Because you said it a couple of times, but this game's not quite over just yet. Yes, there's a big goal difference, 8.6k to be exact. Yes, there is a huge vision difference alongside objectives. But they do have the kind of composition that can turn this one around. Gamers2, that may have just put them in their place a tiny bit. They can't be quite as aggressive as they were hoping for.
Yeah, Dark Passage. Ocelot is actually being very, very brave there, trying to heal tank his way and take the bottom tower. Dark Passage here have so much damage.
Oh, Ocelot very nearly falling. He's going to have to go back, and that was fabulous. Just locking down him with the Rune Prison and then the follow-up damage from Naru. So again, Ocelot needs to be careful. He is landing javelins thick and fast though. Solar Flare comes in, and Crystal Meth will be safeguarding his way out of that one.
No ultimate from Gamers2's main initiator now though, so they're going to have difficulty if they want to force Dark Passage away from this tower, because they clearly want this down. If they can get this, they can siege in the inhib, then they have the map pressure advantage, then they can probably take the inhib straight up and get the Baron off that. But they're holding on to it very well.
Yeah, tower is going to be falling now. There's the Rune Prison from Rise. Now that the tower is dead, they have to be a bit more passive, a bit more careful. I say that as Crystal goes all in. He's going to be popped instantly, and at the cost of no Gamer2 lives. It's the second time he's went super aggressive without any kind of reward, and that leaves his team in a really precarious position here to stave off this inhib push.
It's understandable. He's looking for the engage. He knows that siege will crush them if it goes on for too long, but you've got to take. You can't disrespect the Leona there. All she has to do is Q in that situation and auto attack you, and you get stunned. You get out of your combo, and you're essentially screwed from that point onwards, which is exactly what happens, and it only increases the lead now for Gamers2. Fabulous is
I don't know if he lagged, if he misclicked or what, but he literally walked into 4 Gamers2 players. Even as Rise, you're not quite god tier yet, Fab, and he found out the hard way there. Also, interestingly enough, that engage, oh my goodness, Holy Phoenix is gonna fall. I almost didn't have enough time to say anything there. Yuki's damage is huge right now. Baron's been started as well, so I'll make that point a bit later. Naru, however, has found himself Ocelot. He's going to be going down. Baron is still falling, as well as Lucian picks up his double kill in the mid lane. So everything going horribly wrong for DP. They still have their jungler though, so maybe Crystal can make the play of the game so far, make amends for these previous lapses in judgment, but indeed it's not looking favourable as Yuki again is just smashing him back. That's going to be Baron, that's going to be a surrender vote as well. Game 1 goes to Gamers2.
Very convincing fashion there. Couple of hope spots again. Dark Passage clinging on for a long time after they had fallen a long way behind in the early game. So if they can correct There are a couple of laning mishaps, and maybe if Gamers2 doesn't have such a good plan for the level 1, which they really, really did this game, then maybe Dark Passage will stand a better chance in the future. But there were a couple of decisions right at the end there that I think were cluing me in on the surrender vote incoming, because Triel Benray tried to duel Yuki. It went well. Went very well.